Okay, imagine this. It's the summer of 1945. The world is in chaos, and a quiet American engineer publishes an article that, somehow, describes the soul of a technology that won't even exist for another 50 years. This is the story of the guy who basically dreamed up the internet before we even had the computers to run it.
So let me ask you a question. When you think about where the internet came from, what's the first thing that pops into your head? You probably think of ARPANET, right? That military project from the 60s, built to survive a nuclear attack. That's kind of the classic answer, the hardware, the nuts and bolts of it all.
Or, hey, maybe your mind jumps to the 90s, when the World Wide Web and the first web browsers finally brought the whole thing into our living rooms and made it a part of our lives.
But what if I told you that the real idea, the very soul of how we click and link and jump between ideas online, didn't come from the Cold War, and it didn't come from Silicon Valley? What if I told you its soul was imagined way back in 1945? That it was born out of the chaos of a world war and a crisis that almost nobody else even saw coming?
To really get this, we have to go back to that moment. We have to understand this one man who was facing a problem that was just massive. A world that was literally drowning in its own knowledge.
So meet Vannevar Bush. This guy wasn't a politician or a general. He was an engineer, a systems guy. And during World War II, he was the man in charge of America's entire scientific research program. We're talking thousands of scientists working on everything from radar all the way to the atomic bomb. He was the master organizer. And right in the middle of all that, he saw this quiet, almost invisible danger. The war was creating an absolute explosion of information. Reports, data, discoveries. So much stuff, in fact, that humanity was creating knowledge way faster than it could ever hope to track it, or share it, or even just remember it.
And this was his big aha moment. He realized our whole system for storing information was just broken. We organized everything like a library, right? In these rigid alphabetical lists and categories. But that is not how our brains work. The human mind works by association. It leaps from one idea to a connected one. So he wondered, why can't our machines think that way too?
And that one question led him to imagine this totally revolutionary device. And remember, we're not talking about a computer. Those didn't really exist yet. He was thinking about a machine that could actually extend the human mind. He called it the Memex. Now I want you to picture this. It's a desk, and it has these built-in screens and levers. And inside it, on microfilm, is a person's entire personal library. Every book, every note, every letter. It's like a personal, searchable Google of everything you've ever read or written.
But here's the thing, just storing all that stuff, that wasn't even the main idea. The real breakthrough, the absolute game changer, was connection. A user could instantly link any two items in their Memex. So imagine you're reading a science paper. You could link one paragraph directly to a personal note you wrote, or to a photo, or to a page in a completely different book. You could build these associative trails of thought, then save them, and even share them with other people. All of a sudden, knowledge wasn't this static thing sitting on a shelf. It was something you could navigate. I mean, think about it. He was basically describing hyperlinks, personal computing, and shared knowledge networks without having the words for any of them. It was a blueprint for our digital world. So why wasn't it built? Why didn't this happen right then and there? Well, to put it simply, the world just wasn't ready. The technology back in 1945, we're talking clunky microfilm projectors and mechanical levers, it just couldn't pull it off. And maybe even more important, the problem he was trying to solve, most people hadn't felt that pain of information overload yet. It really was a problem for the future. So Bush's article, which was called As We May Think, it kind of just faded into the background. It looked like this radical idea was destined to become a forgotten little piece of history. But it didn't disappear. Not really. It just went dormant. It was waiting. So now, fast forward decades. While this idea was just sitting there, waiting, a whole new generation of pioneers, the actual people who would go on to build our digital world, they started stumbling across Bush's old essay. And this is where it all connects. In the 1960s, these visionaries like Douglas Engelbart and Ted Nelson, the guys who basically invented the concept of hypertext, they read Bush's work and had this shocking realization. Then, by the 1990s, the World Wide Web finally made his core idea of linking things together a reality for millions of us. Can you imagine that? They realized that the amazing future they were so busy inventing, this whole world of linked documents and shared knowledge, it had already been blueprinted.
Someone had already imagined it, way back in 1945. They were building the mimics. They were just using silicon and code instead of microfilm and levers.
So when you boil it all down, Vannevar Bush didn't invent the physical internet, the routers and servers and all the cables. But what he did with just stunning clarity was describe its soul, a web of interconnected human thought.
So what is his real legacy then? It's not a patent. It's not a product. It's something way, way bigger. The physical mimics machine, that desk, it was never actually built. And you know what? It didn't need to be. Because its spirit, its descendants, are literally all around us. They live in every single link you click, every search you type into Google, every digital photo you share. Our entire modern world runs on his idea of associative trails.
His true legacy wasn't a piece of hardware. It was a powerful, guiding question that he left for all of us. How can we use our technology not just to calculate things, but to help us humans think more effectively, together?
And his answer to that question, that incredible vision he laid out in 1945, it quietly went on to reshape our entire world. All thanks to a man whose name most of us, well, we never even learned it. Until today.